And we are live. This is episode number 31 of Calibrated with Scott. Live. I'm Scott, of course. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Just waiting for everybody to kind of file in. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today, and it's kind of like it's a whole lot of nothing, I guess I would say. Like, it was a very weird day where everybody was very attentive. Everybody was paying attention to the information coming out, particularly about the incursion into Belgorod, which we'll get into. If you read the description of this, you would know what I'm talking about. It was it was the exact same as the last time the Ukrainians went into Belgorod. They didn't achieve anything. They suffered casualties and so on and so forth. So we'll go over all that today. But first, we got some map updates, so let's go over to the map, everyone. Remember, if you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, please give me a follow and share this live stream. That's the easiest way you guys can support me. Remember, if you guys have questions that you want me to answer during the live stream, you can do that through Super Thanks or Super Chat. That's the easiest way. At the end, I tend to answer a few questions, but I don't get to everybody. So if you have something that you want to ask or you want to support the show, that's the easiest way to do it. All right. Without further ado, let's get into it here. All right. So overall, the Russians are back with the initiative. They are moving the lines in multiple different areas. So we'll come down here to Robotny, where we can see that the Russians have, again, pushed into the southern western part of the village. Again, not much village here remaining, but it is important because if they can get a buffer zone around this defense fortification, they'll be able to actually hold the town better. I would not be surprised if this gets reversed again by the Ukrainians. Just the way the topography is right here. Robotny is just kind of this gray zone where the Ukrainians have fortifications on the north and the Russians have fortifications on the south. Remember, this is the first line of Russian defense right here, so that makes sense. And then this is the Ukrainian line of defense where they ended up securing Robotny. So that's the battle right now. As soon as you see Russian progress up in this area, north of Robotny at all, that's when you know that the town will be under Russian control, probably indefinitely. Yeah, but again, more reversal of the counteroffensive progress. I don't really think that there's a ton of assaults going on here. Like, there's not a ton of Russian military activity in this area in general. That is to say that the Russians aren't necessarily pushing here with a lot of oomph. They're pushing in other areas, but if they can achieve tactical success, they will continue to do so in this area. That is at least my analysis of the situation. All right, now moving over to, oh, I forgot to delete this. Novomykhailivka. Just no update. Just changed the green to red now. It's now consolidated Russian gains. There are rumors that there have been more movement in Novomykhailivka, but we have not got an update. So that's holding. Here to the north of Pabyeta, actually, my map did not stay the way it was supposed to. That's unfortunate. Sometimes when I update it, it doesn't stay after I close it out. So I'm just going to fix this real fast. The Russians have just expanded on this northern side of Pabyeta and have captured this tree line right here. So again, remember, I told you guys this yesterday. I actually showed this update yesterday. The Russians are trying to move out west of Pabyeta, get onto the high ground, and move south of Pabyeta as well, and start pressuring Konstantinivka, Pervomaiske, and Novomykhailivka. Marinka, no changes again. We saw this assault yesterday in that update. No changes in Krasnohorivka, but there are changes to the Krasnohorivka front, and that comes in the form of Novelske being captured by the Russians. This is of great significance. I'm going to show you guys a couple different maps. I'm going to take us actually out of our map right now and move us over to Suryak's map, because Suryak has something that my map does not. Again, another good resource for you guys to use. Suryak map, let's see. Okay, so on Suryak's map, you can see where the original Russian line of defense was before 2022. You can see Krasnohorivka has not moved at all. I like this map because it has this on it, so you can actually see where the conflict started and see how far they've progressed. And that's you can see how difficult Marinka was to get into, right? It was one of those frontline cities. Same with Krasnohorivka. It's going to be very difficult to approach from the east. So the Russians approached from the south after they got behind this line of defense. And Novelske is one of those places where it is a good, solid Russian or Ukrainian line of defense because it is a 10-year-old fortification, right? So the Russians have now pushed out onto the high ground that's just east, which is actually more important than Novelske itself, and are now looking at closing the pincer on this little area right here. So let me take you back over to my map. You can see that Novelske has been captured. The Russians have moved into this high ground. And then up here in Pervomaiske, which is like the double threat to this area, you see that the Russians have further expanded out of the gas station to this crossroads right here is what they call it. And basically up to this reservoir is where the line has stopped. And there are rumors as of right now that about half of Pervomaiske has come under Russian control. I imagine this is the half that's under Ukrainian control, and this is now the half that's under Russian control, which means that these positions could, and I want to stress this, could be put into a cauldron like they kind of already look like they are, and may need to be evacuated by the Ukrainians. I'm going to take us over to the topographical map. Oh, hold on, we got a question here. Let's see. Still want to know about Russia taking the south side of Oipimist. All right. I don't know the south side Oipimist. I don't know what that is. If you want to just type in a message about what that is, I'm sorry. I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know what that is. All right. I'm going to take us over to the topographical map. Yeah, this one. All right. So, wait for it to load. Here is Novelske. You can see that the Russians were basically behind this tree line for a long time, and now they've pushed out onto this high ground. They now control the high ground. Here's Pervomaiske right here, and now the Russians look down into this little valley. So again, the Ukrainians are on the low ground, the Russians are on the high ground. But the more important aspect of this is that the Russians get out of Novelske, right, and then onto this high ground and begin pressuring the northern end of Krasnohorivka. And that should be lights out for this little town. It's not like a big city, but with the pressure from the south and the north, this whole town should be very difficult to defend. It might take a while for the Russians to get down here. We'll see. But I've said for a while now, and I tweeted about it the other day, I believe Krasnohorivka is going to become a major, major, major issue for the Ukrainians in the coming weeks. All right. Back to my map. Any more updates? Nothing in the Avdiivka sector as of right now. And nothing, no changes here. So there weren't a significant amount of map changes, but this is a significant map change in and of itself. So that's all we have for today. But I would expect this pocket to close over the coming weeks. It might be slow still just because it's so flat and open terrain. But obviously, I mean, this is going to be difficult to keep supplied. There's not really any solid roads here. This road is dirt. This road is semi-paved, so this road is okay, but still you have to keep all of this back here supplied. So incredibly difficult for the Ukrainians, and I expect now that Novelske has fallen, that this area will probably be evacuated, along with Pervomaiske also being captured. It's like a double threat from both sides. All right. The bridge that separates Odessa from Romania and has... Oh, he's talking about... here. Oh, wait, I don't know why I did that. I already have my map open. He's talking about the Zakota Bridge, I think. The bridge right down here. This one? Wait, is that it? No, that's not it. That's a port. This bridge right here. I think this is the bridge you're talking about. Let me know if that's the bridge you're talking about. I would not, like I've said forever, I would not expect the Russians to move down into this part of Odessa, into this region across the Dnieper for a very, very long time. I would not be holding my breath for that. The Ukrainian army needs to be defeated before Russia starts dealing with any of this, if they ever get to that, right? So this needs to happen before anything down here happens. I would not, I just would not hold my breath for any sort of movement in that direction. For a while, at least. You'll know when it's happening because everything will start coming down. It'll all happen very fast. Odessa will be the least of your concerns probably if stuff starts moving in that direction. All right. I'm gonna go over to my Twitter now. Actually, no, let's do some headlines first. So the U.S. has announced a new weapons package for Ukraine. Back to the normal logistics packages, $300 million. Really not anything outside of the bare minimum ammunition that the Ukrainians need to stay alive. If you remember, the United States still has $4 billion I'm sorry, did I say 300 billion? I meant 300 million US dollars. So, mostly just artillery shells and HIMARS shells and stuff like that. And then on top of that, the United States still has 4 billion of allocated funds for Ukraine. And so I would expect I would expect that you would continue seeing these small logistics packages being milked out of that 4 billion until the larger aid funding passes, and then it doesn't matter, right? I still do expect it to pass, and that's just the way it is. Money speaks louder than doing what's right for the United States, doing what's right for Ukraine. So I'm sure we're going to see it. Did you see David Sachs give you a shout out on breaking points? Yes, I did. I had a lot of people send that to me, and thank you guys for sending that to me. It's very cool. It was a good interview too. I watched the whole interview. He is a interesting guy to talk to. I talk to him off and on. Not like a lot, but I have communicated with him, and he's a cool guy. I like him. All right. I'm trying to have him on my show, so hopefully he comes on sooner rather than later. I would really appreciate that, because I think that would be a really good conversation. Let's see. All right, no more questions. Okay. But yeah, so you have the aid package coming in. 300 million, nothing really substantial. It's just HIMARS munitions, 155 millimeter rounds, 105 millimeter rounds, AT4 anti-armor systems, so ATGMs, small arms ammunition. Literally, this is just the bare minimum that Ukraine needs to sustain itself. That's all this is. This is not it's not an aid package. It's a logistics package. It's what it is. They're delivering what is necessary to keep the fight going for as long as they can. Barely what is necessary. All right, let's move on to the next story. This one's not super important, but it does affect you guys, so I thought I would talk about it. Inflation ticks up as Biden puts economy at heart of the re-election bid. Obviously, Biden has been bragging about inflation dropping, but the estimate for what it was going to be for this quarter of the year, the first quarter, was supposed to be much lower than 3.2, and previous month it was 3.1. So inflation is increasing. It's not a substantial increase, but you're going to feel it in your wallet. So if you're an American, I'm sorry. Welcome to the very, very expensive grocery world. That's what I deal with. I go and buy like $300 worth of groceries, and it feels like I bought nothing. It's unbelievable. It sucks, but not a big jump. Just something to mention. And then I'm going to take us over to my Twitter and talk about some of my bookmarks, and then we can go right into questions. And we're going to also talk about the situation up in the north and what happened today. All right. Okay. All right. So there was an incursion by the Ukrainian forces. All right. So let me just set this up. What's going on right now is that Russia is going into their presidential elections. March 15th through the 17th, I believe, is the actual elections in Russia. Voting has already begun in areas of the Donbass and the new regions, because I think they have to spread it out. They don't want people lining up outside of voting facilities and stuff, so they have to kind of spread it out to keep people safe. That's coming up, and obviously, with the Ukrainians on the back foot in the war, they're going to do anything possible to make headlines, to disrupt that election, this, that, and the other. So today we saw a series of events. I'm going to cover all of them, not in chronological order necessarily, so don't get your mind locked in on that. But we did see a IL-76 that crashed, not anything to do with Ukraine. I don't know what happened to it. It could have something to do with Ukraine. I don't know. But the plane had an engine fire. It's an IL-76. It looks like the engine fire just caused the plane to crash. It could have been a bird strike, could have been anything. And I have no idea. I'm not saying that was a bird strike. It could have been friendly fire from air defense. It could have been, a drone on the runway that ran into the plane. The plane got to some elevation, and then ended up trying to return to the airfield where it took off. But unfortunately for the people on board, the crew members and the passengers, they all died in the crash. So that was one of the things that started the day. Still no word on what happened. There were no claims from the Ukrainian government about taking down this plane. So I do believe that it was probably just a crash, right? A bird is possible. That's usually how you get engine fires. I asked my dad. My dad's a pilot. He said that it looks exactly like an engine, like a bird strike on takeoff. that you take off, the bird hits the engine, you try to turn around and make it back to the your starting point, your airfield, which you took off from. So that happened. That was like the most for the pro-Ukrainian crowd. It seemed like this was the bee's knees today. Like I don't know. This was I believe an unplanned event along with the other planned events. And but this was the highlight for them, which is just kind of funny to me. I don't know. A plane going down while you're losing towns in Ukraine. I don't know, whatever. There was also a coordinated large drone strike. We saw some fire at an oil facility. Some oil storage was hit, different stuff like that. It was a pretty large drone attack. But again, you're talking about Russia. I mean, it's first off, it's huge. It's not enough drones. They're not frequent enough to do enough damage to keep this stuff out of commission for an extremely long time. There are other facilities that can be used for this. So again, these are just sort of like pinprick attacks. They like to hit the oil and stuff because it burns, and they think it's going to hit Russia's bottom dollar, which is just, I mean, they're not doing enough. So that's not happening, but copers are going to cope. That's how it is. And that was what I would say is the second part of what happened today, the second aspect of this event. So you have this to sow chaos, right, in Russia coming up on the elections. And then on top of that, you have an incursion. And this is what the Ukrainians thought happened. This was the co-posting I saw on Ukrainian Telegram. It shows them pushing very deep, like 40 kilometers into Russian territory. The Russians are backing up. Whatever. It's nonsense. None of this happened. This is a complete joke, right? None of that happened. What did happen was that the Russians or the Ukrainians got extremely close to the border. Here is the actual border. This is Russia over here. This is Ukraine over here. And I'll show you a picture here in a second. And here's one of their unicorn tanks, T-64 model that is only built by Ukraine. Literally one of their few and only remaining produced tanks of this model. It's like the 2022 T-64 gone. It looks like its front armor was penned, and it also looked like it hit a mine. Yeah, here you can see it looks like the front armor was penetrated right here. So tank losses. We also had a BMP loss, this is an M113 and a IMR-2 recovery and breaching vehicle, I believe. It has a bulldozer on the front. So that was also lost. And then here you can see the BMP-1 that was also lost in this incursion. So I believe that there were a couple of incursions, one into Belgorod region, one into Kursk region, all of which were destroyed. Here you can see that the tank almost made it to the 13 meters away from the border. So close. Almost made it into Russia, but was destroyed instead. So that's basically what happened today. The incursion was repelled. If you remember yesterday, I talked about the recent MOD footage that was released of the Caesar, the multiple tanks, and the manpower accumulations that were struck in the Sumy region. That was in preparation for this attack. So the Russians definitely disrupted the staging for this incursion into Belgorod and Kursk. They did significant damage, and then the guys that went in today also suffered casualties and significant damage. So again, PR mission, did absolutely nothing, achieved nothing. We have videos of Russian soldiers in the towns that are claimed by Ukraine to be in the gray zone or whatever. Didn't happen. And now they're back to square one, except they are down a couple tanks for no good reason. What is astonishing to me is you're losing places like, the defensive line behind Avdiivka. You're losing Novelsky. Krasnohorivka is going to start getting pressured here. Novomykhailivka is getting pressured. you have all of these hotspots, and you're deciding to send your tanks into Belgorod. Even if you, let's say that they pushed in 50 kilometers and achieved amazing success, what follows that? That's how you guys have to think about this. Is there's no plan besides get in there, kill some Russian civilians, make it seem like Russia is unstable and Putin is weak, and then capitalize on that during the elections somehow. I don't know. Doesn't really work like that. If you know the Russians, they really, really don't like being invaded, and that is a really good way to make a whole country agree with Putin. And that's all that this accomplished today. Again, drones flying into civilian buildings. We saw a drone hit a administration building in Belgorod. Nothing. So there's that. Yeah, Putin is so weak. He's so weak that he is literally standing up to the entire West right now, and the West is freaking out. France is talking about sending troops into Ukraine because Putin is so weak. Putin is so weak that after Ukraine, he's going to go into Poland, into Germany, and into the Baltics. That's how weak Putin is. You guys are so stupid sometimes. Not my followers, the idiots in here. Oh man, just no common sense. It's crazy. All right. Here we can see obituaries. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 7 men were laid to rest. They were all sailors of the Ukrainian Navy, potentially Marines. Some of them were probably different jobs, different MOS in the Navy. These are the men, at least the admitted men, that were killed in the strike on Odessa when Zelensky and the Greek prime minister were in the area. There's a lot of claims that the missile was targeted at Zelensky. It was an assassination attempt, whatever. That's not true. Zelensky and the Greek ambassador, I believe it was the Greek ambassador or Greek president, were both safe. They were not near the explosion when it happened. That's not true. We have drone footage from Kherson recently of semi-recently of Zelensky under Russian drone coverage. So I mean, if they want him dead, he would be dead. They obviously don't want him dead. This was not a strike on him, but it was a strike on a naval awards ceremony, supposedly, or a drone facility. I've heard both of those. They both make sense because Zelensky was in town that day, so I wouldn't doubt that there was some sort of event happening. But also, there are drone production facilities in Odessa, so this could also be the case. It's just like the MOD claims versus the rumored claims. You kind of just have to pick and choose. This is important. A downed Garin 2 drone of Russian production. The black ones are definitely of Russian production. They don't really get any from Iran anymore. They produce them themselves. And this one, however, has a camera on it. Nothing fancy, a simple security camera from probably like Home Depot or Walmart or Amazon. Just ordered it offline, screwed it in. They attached an antenna via duct tape to one of the fins. I don't think it was this fin. I think it was the other fin. And that gives them reconnaissance capabilities. So now, Russia has the ability to not only fly these across all of Ukraine, as they do almost every night, but they also have the ability to spot, potentially target. I don't know if it has steering, but retargeting could also potentially be an aspect of this, as well as we may get to see some actual hits. So now there won't be the ability to deny, or say that you shot down 99% of the Garin 2s when we are getting videos of these things flying into targets around Ukraine. I think that is probably the goal. This is the best idea for these drones. They should start producing the Garin 2s with cameras built in. You can just fly these things all around Ukraine and then drop them on air defense, on whatever you want, wherever they are. You can target them, and I think that's the next step. It'll be like the Garin 3 is what you're going to see with that. The Chinese already have the exact same thing, so I wouldn't doubt that we're going to see something like that soon in the future. Okay, that is all that I have today. Oh yeah, just for viewers' sake, when you hear people talk about Western armor not turret tossing, this is a Leopard 2. You can see that the turret is no longer on top of this, and that is because it is over here lying beside it. Obviously, critical failure of this tank. The turret got blown off and tossed. So it can happen to every tank. You just don't see enough leopards in Ukraine to see them, detonate like that. So um, here we have one more story that I wanted to talk about. The Boeing whistleblower. He was in the middle of his deposition about all of the recent uh, Boeing plane crashes. He was found dead, apparent suicide. Timing is spectacular. I don't know why people decide to kill themselves when they're in the most important, impactful situations of their lives. But, he killed himself with a gunshot to the face. So, if anybody was wondering, Boeing has been receiving a lot of flack for parts of their having basically critical engineering failures, doors blowing out, tire fell off the other day. We saw a landing gear failure. Wing parts of the wing have been like peeling up and stuff like that. I've seen a number of different things. That is, I mean, come on, come on. If it, and the way it's crazy that the media doesn't even, it's self-inflicted gun wound. They can't even begin to come up with the idea that maybe this person, fell out of a window. If somebody dies in Russia, Putin is responsible. He is like purging people, whatever, this, that, and the other. When it happens in the United States, it is a self-inflicted gun wound in the middle of his very important human life-saving deposition that will do critical financial damage to one of the largest like military industrial complex companies. I mean, this is so sketchy, man. I cannot believe, I cannot believe that they're not even talking about it like it's suspicious at all. No, this guy was offed because of what he was trying to expose and talk about. He also said in his interview, in an interview that he did, that when they did a well, I can't remember what they call it, but he was one of the guys that goes through and makes sure that the planes are up to spec, basically up to code. And they said that they found like 550 engineering issues on the plane. And then they had other guys do it, the same job that he does. They had other guys come in and they were given 30 minutes to do the full inspection, and they only found 55 issues, which is like, I guess, acceptable or something like that. Uh, and so, I mean, you can obviously see what it's at play. It's nonsense, man. Let me get to some of these questions. Uh, let's see. Why can't General Palpatine let's end this now? Because that's you. This is what a lot of people want, right? A lot of people are like, "Hey, why doesn't Russia just end it? This, that, and the other." For one, I mean, they probably can't just end it. Like a lot of people think that they can. The Russians have escalatory steps possible, but remember, every time you escalate, the enemy is also given the opportunity to equally escalate. The Russians don't want that. I think they're very happy with the status quo right now. The West, the support in the West, the fatigue is setting in very heavy. They don't, I mean, everybody's talking about it. Why add a new stimuli into the equation when it's just not necessary? I think that is the most important aspect of, uh, you know, why doesn't Putin do this? Why doesn't he hit bridges? Why doesn't he kill Zelensky? Why doesn't he take out Sersky? All this, all of these different things. It's because you just don't want to change a good thing. And a lot of people are going to roll their eyes and say, oh, Russia's losing planes, Russia's losing boats. They're suffering casualties. The longer this goes, the more people die. Yes, but when you say like, why don't they just finish this? That is a lot of casualties. And it also can result in you losing the war. When you have when you're winning, you don't want to change things too dramatically to, you know, change your situation and cause you to lose a fight. That's not what you want to do. So I don't think we're going to see any of that. All right. Guys, get some questions in. And then you get the comments like this. You get comments like this. We will take Kiev in 3 days. That was General Mark Milley of the United States military. So if you are wondering, that is who said that. No Russian official said that. They might have thought it, but that is General Mark Milley, and it has been attributed to Putin and different things like that. So it's ridiculous. Questions. If there's no questions, guys, I might wrap it up here. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in and watching. Be sure, I'm going to try to do another roundtable this weekend on Saturday. So be sure to tune into that. I don't know who's going to come. I haven't sent out invites or anything. So we'll see how that does. And then I have a couple of interviews lined up that are going to be off of live stream. So be sure to turn into that. Here we go. What does this say? Would you call Putin a brave man? No, I'd say Putin is a politician. I think Putin is doing what he thinks is necessary for the Russian Federation. I think that he's a slightly like a nationalist, but not in a hyper nationalistic sort of way. He's just very proud of Russia, and he wants Russia to be strong again, as well as, the selfish reasons. Obviously, he's making a bunch of money and stuff like that, whatever. That's never going to go anywhere when you're in politics. I don't necessarily think he's a brave man, though. I mean, I don't know what he's done that's necessarily brave. I think that he's a smart man. I think that he plays his hand properly in almost every instance. I think he's made the U.S. look very foolish in a lot of different ways. So, but brave, I don't know. Talk about Ukraine propaganda, Trump. I don't. You can write longer messages. But it's like a half message every time I read this. Talk about Ukraine propaganda, Trump. I don't know. Are you talking about the recent statement by Viktor Orban, where he said that Trump is not going to send any more money? That feels like a lie to me. That feels like a constituency sort of thing. Like he wants the votes. Obviously, it's an election season. He wants his party to support him, and part of the ultra MAGA especially are no money to Ukraine, America first, invest here, do that, that direction. So I think he's just playing to his constituency, which is smart. But I hope it's true, because Ukraine does not need any more money. They need to negotiate so people stop dying. Somebody said they asked a question. Let's see. Russia is not. Here we go. Do you think being pro-Russia is problematic? I am anti-NATO. I do not worship Russia like a lot of people do. It's not a healthy worldview to have. I agree. No, I totally agree. Russia has, and also Russia has a lot of problems, right? There are a lot of people get into this mindset where it's good guys versus bad guys, light versus dark. It's ridiculous. They're all countries. They all have corruption. They all have greed. They all have leaders that don't do what they're supposed to do. They all have parts of their population that aren't necessarily appeasing, So yes, do not worship a single country. Do not worship any, I would say don't worship any single ideology. I think that is short-sighted and shallow, in my personal opinion. I think that ideologues tend to be some of the stupidest human beings on the planet. A lot of the NAFO people I would put into that category. So that's I agree. I don't think that I see. My position has always been, I think that Russia has some sort of legitimate position as to why they invaded Ukraine. I think that the U.S. has no legitimate position to be in Ukraine since before 2014. like, Victoria Nuland handing out cookies and stuff like that, us sending billions and billions and billions of dollars over there for a war that we created. And then Ukraine is paying the price for that war because we don't want Russia to be strong with a strong China. Like that's what the whole thing is, right? Sanctions, just take China or take Russia out of the picture, cause regime change, get Russia back to a 1991 version of itself, where the West controls the oligarchs and the oligarchs control everything in the country, pull them away from China, and then you can focus solely on China. That obviously didn't happen. But that's my position, is I believe that Russia has some sort of justification in what they're doing. And if Russia goes beyond that justification, in my opinion, I will become anti-Russia, right? If they push into the Baltics or push into Poland, I will say, hey, it's too far. I am no longer I don't think that Russia has the justification to do this. I don't think that it needs to go on. So, I mean, that's where I sit. But yes, I don't think it's a healthy worldview to idolize any nation, any government, because they're all doing bad things when you get down to it. That's how the game is played. All right. Thanks for that question. Sorry I missed it earlier. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. How about the Pope and Zelensky trashing him? Well, first off, I'm not the biggest fan of the Catholic Church in general. So it's like, for me, it's like watching two people that I really don't give a shit about arguing. And that's not to say anything about Catholics. I respect the religion and everything. But just in terms of the papacy and the corruption that churches tend to, especially big churches like the Vatican, tend to hold, it's very weird for them to be coming out and making political statements. At least they made, in my opinion, the right political statement, saying that the war needs to end, peace. That is exactly what the church should be saying, in my personal opinion. That is like a what would Jesus do sort of thing. Would be, hey, why the hell are we fighting for no real good reason, right? So the Pope coming out and saying that is the right thing, in my opinion. Zelensky and his goons coming out and saying that the Pope is now some sort of Russian asset because he wants people to stop dying is like the most ridiculous shit I have ever heard. Like, come on. They have been overly supportive of Ukraine up until recently. And now they're starting to be like, hey, the writing's on the wall. Pay attention. You're going to lose your country, and probably a lot more if you don't start shaping up. So probably negotiate is the best thing for Ukraine. If Ukraine doesn't decide to do that, whatever, but that doesn't make the Pope a Russian asset. That's so stupid, man. Anybody who's not directly in line with the narrative becomes a Russian asset. Senate Defender, the big account that now focuses on the Middle East mostly, he used to be a pro-Ukrainian account until things started going bad for Ukraine and he started telling the truth. And then now he's a Russian asset, or a Russian propagandist shill, whatever. It's so stupid, man. The Pope, Trump, Orban, who else? New York Times has also been a Russian asset. The Wall Street Journal. You just can't say anything bad. That's what I mean by ideologues, right? They shut down to any information that doesn't fit their confirmation bias. That's an extremely poor way to go about life. He said, Craig said, "Do you get my Twitter DM?" No, I haven't looked yet, but I'll go look. All right, guys, that's where I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you. Shorter one today. Hopefully there's some more map updates tomorrow. I do think that there probably will be. So make sure you guys check back in. We got one more question and then I will wrap it up. Last one question. We're seeing more and more HIMARS getting popped close to the front lines. Why are Ukrainians moving them so close? It's a number of different things. They need them close because they're trying to support defensive lines that aren't being held very well. So there's a lot of materials moving around. The Russians also know where these units are being placed. The Ukrainians have a really bad habit of doing the exact same thing in the exact same place where they've already lost equipment. I've seen one air defense station that has had a radar destroyed in 2022, 2023, and 2024, all on camera. 3 separate models of radar. I guess that point is just very important for them. But same goes for this HIMARS. This HIMARS was lost in the same general area that the other HIMARS was the other day. Some people are saying it's a decoy. You can watch the video. It literally has a member of the crew down there. Some copers are going to say that they were deploying a decoy, which I don't really understand how that's any better, that a bunch of Ukrainians got killed deploying a decoy. But whatever. If it's a decoy, -1 decoy and decoy crew, and the decoy crew that sets up the decoy and the decoy crew and the decoy management crew that runs that decoy crew, right? That's what it's, bro. It's so ridiculous. But that's why. Also, Russian ISR has become much stronger, and Russia's ability to strike deep has improved dramatically in terms of timing. It used to be like 6 hours, I think, was from the time intelligence was received until the missile was launched at a target. It was about 6 hours. So now you're seeing a lot more time on target. Like it matters a lot more. And the Russians are becoming much quicker. I think what I've heard from Russian sources is that the missiles are now fired at targets within 5 minutes of receiving intel instead of 6 hours. So, it's not so much concentration of Ukrainians in buildings that are going to be there for the next 12 to 24 hours. Now it's individual HIMARS systems, individual air defense systems can be instantly, once they are spotted, they can be instantly struck. And that's just an improvement in Russian ISR over the course of this war. That was really poor in the beginning. 6 hours is horrible to get a missile out at something. So that is a major improvement. And we've seen the results, right? We saw the Patriot system get hit. We saw 2 HIMARS systems at least get hit. We've seen a NASM get hit. We've seen everything getting hit. So, yeah. See, this is so weird. This is so weird that you're talking about this. Aiden knows what it's like to be well oiled on stage with lots of men. You mean because I did bodybuilding and I was jacked and I won my show? Yeah, I guess I do know what it's like to be bigger than you on stage and win something in a competitive atmosphere. I'm sorry that you don't understand what that's like. I'm sorry that you're also fantasizing about me being oiled on stage with a lot of men. It's very gay. They're very gay. It's crazy. It's all they talk about. It's all they think about. I am their obsession and I love it. I will remain your obsession forever, boys. Keep thinking about me. The weirdest part about it is they're all obsessed with me and they're all like 40 to 60-year-old men and women. It's so weird, dude. It's so weird. You guys go have kids or go pay attention to your kids, get off Facebook and Twitter and go live your lives. Seriously, I don't know what the hell you're doing. All right. Love you, everyone. Be safe. Subscribe, follow, do what you wish. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.